Hi, I'm Grant Kleiman from Darsana Martial Arts, and in this video, I'll be showing you some of the key elements of Tai Chi footwork, including shifting, stepping, turning, and pivoting. In a previous video, I discuss in detail how to align the upper body over the bubbling well point of a single foot so you can empty the other, which is an essential requirement for smooth and balanced stepping. I'll leave a link of that video in the description below. When stepping forward, touch the heel of your stepping foot to the ground without any weight committed to it. Then sink in your back leg and slowly roll your front foot to the ground as you shift your weight into it, rolling the back heel up. When stepping back, touch the ball of your foot down first, then sink your weight in the front leg and roll your heel down as you shift back and peel up your toes. The 2 feet work together to form something like the bottom curve of a wheel, so that as you shift your weight forward and backward, they essentially roll, one foot moving down to the ground as it receives the weight and the other rolling up. Here I'm illustrating just how closely the action of the feet resembles the bottom curve of a wheel as the weight is shifted from one foot to the other. Once the weight is shifted fully over one foot, the other foot is empty and ready to step without any disruption to our balance. The action of stepping essentially just replaces the next portion of the wheel we would require to be able to continue rolling in that direction. If we divide the general space around us into front and back quadrants, then we can see that any step into the front quadrant is a heel of foot step first, and any step into the rear quadrant is a ball of foot step first. When we step directly on the dividing line, however, we can choose to step heel first or ball of foot first, depending on how we turn our hips. From the front, you can see that whether I'm taking a fairly narrow forward step or more oblique step, it's heel first. And the same goes for a retreat step. Whether it's wide or narrow, it's ball of foot first. A side step can be heel first if I turn my hips towards it and make it like a forward step, whereas it can be ball of foot first if I turn my hips away and make it like a backward step. When extending our foot out over the ground to step, there's a limit to how far we can step before the foot has to come down to the ground, because the further we extend our foot out, the more leverage it has to pull us off balance. To step further and acquire more dynamic stances, you can use the sliding post step, which begins near to the stable foot and slides lightly across the ground before we shift any weight into it. Here I'm showing the same principles at work in a forward step. Now there's nothing wrong with taking a standard step. It just will be limited, and if you're looking to explore more dynamic movement, the sliding post step is a great option. That said, there will be times when the friction between your foot and the floor are too great, and the sliding post step simply won't be possible. It's also important to remember to work within your current limitations. Trying to force your body to do something it isn't ready to do is never a good idea. Remember that strength and flexibility will come with practice in time, and you want to ease yourself into these sorts of things and always listen to your body. When performing a forward 90-degree turn, shift the majority of your weight away from the foot you wish to turn so you can empty the toes and turn on your heel. Then roll the foot down as you shift your weight into it and complete your turn. Stepping through your turn will require a little bit more than a 90-degree rotation of your foot to accommodate your hips as you step into a forward stance. If you lack the flexibility to rotate your foot beyond 90 degrees, you can pivot on the balls of your foot as you take the step as an alternative. A forward turn of 180 degrees will require the pivot on the ball of the foot. Make sure you shift your vertical axis all the way over the ball of the foot and float the heel to maintain balance as you rotate. Here's a 270-degree turn to illustrate the ball of foot pivot further. For backward 90-degree turns, you can shift out of the turning foot, pivot on the balls of the foot, and shift backward into it. Alternatively, you can float the toes and internally rotate them, creating the same orientation. In either case, you can step back and through into a forward stance, but you may need to adjust your front foot. When performing a backwards 180, you pivot on the heel. Just like with the ball of foot pivot, with the heel pivot, you want to center your vertical axis over the heel, floating the toes as you root into the heel and turn. Whether pivoting on the balls of your foot or heel, make sure that the action is generated by your pelvic center and core for a smooth, balanced motion. There are several cross steps in Tai Chi. The back cross step allows us to shift our weight between the 2 feet and pivot on our ball and heel of foot simultaneously. The forward cross step uses our rolling shift mechanics on a diagonal line. Pivoting on the balls of both feet, we can simply twist the stance and sink. Here I create a 360-degree movement by combining all elements, turning on the heel, rolling into the foot, then pivoting on the balls of the foot, turning my toes inward with the stepping foot, and then shifting into it and pivoting on the heels before stepping back. Here's a similar 360-degree motion, but with turning and cross-stepping as a combination. Thanks for watching. Now go practice.